This is Isaac Anderson. He's Steven Anderson's son of the NIFB. Hateful, vile people, dude. Like, pray for Obama's death. Pray for the death of gay people. Like, really awful people. Anyway, Steven Anderson faced this abuse scandal a while back where it was revealed by his son Isaac here and 3 other children of his, adult children, that he abuses his wife and his kids. And his excuse is that it's spousal abuse. I'm sorry, that it's a spousal discipline. He calls it spousal discipline. It's not abuse. He's engaging in biblical spousal discipline. I mean, it's really, really psychotic stuff. So I want to listen to the interview. This is not part 1. If you didn't see the others, don't sweat it. This stands independently of the rest. Just check this out.
So my dad's thought process is, as far as justifying what he's done, is my dad basically believes there's no such thing as child or spousal abuse. He thinks it's just not real. Besides sexual abuse, he does not recognize any form of abuse. He believes the CPS should be completely disbanded, and there are no situations, and there's no situation where a parent can beat their child too far. There's none. Now, of course, he lies from his pulpit and claims he just uses a belt or a paddle on his kids because he's a compulsive liar. Or he's also talked about only not giving them too many swats. He's a liar on that.
Before we watch this, like, he said this earlier. This is not like a repeat. You didn't already see this video, probably. He said this previously at the beginning of the last video. They were just showing us like a coming up portion. But, you know, Steven Anderson like threw glasses at, you know, like drinking glasses at his wife and children and shattered them on the wall next to them and stuff, and literally broke bar stools over their backs. I mean, really psychotic stuff, disturbing stuff.
Oh, never give your child more than 40 swats. First of all, 40 is pretty excessive, but there have been situations where he's given siblings over 100 in a matter of 5 minutes because they're trying to beat a confession out of a kid, and they just give him 20. Oh, he doesn't. Okay, do it again, and they just keep doing it. So he's obviously just lying. He doesn't even preach. So he knows. I think he knows what he's doing is wrong because he doesn't preach that it's right. And then, of course, I don't know why his church members are so find it so hard to believe that the guy who says it's okay to force your wife to have sex with you might also hit his wife as well. Like,
yeah, absolutely. And again, Steven Anderson didn't deny any of these charges. Like, he admits to all of this stuff. He just says it isn't wrong. This is how you're supposed to run a family or whatever. Like, super psychotic stuff, really.
because my dad loves to misappropriate that verse. When it's saying spouses shouldn't deny sex, that's not saying the husband gets to hold her down and force her, which is obviously just a ridiculous thing to think. And they're just shocked, like, hey, the guy who's not really against also hits his wife. No, this is impossible. Like, how many videos are there of him saying that you can do whatever you want to your wife?
Yeah,
like a billion.
Yeah,
he's got quite a few. He's been saying that for years. So yeah, last I checked, the hitting your wife is much lower level. Like, it's not nearly as bad as that. So.
Interestingly enough, I think that he's benefited from being banned on YouTube because a lot of that gets taken down, right? Like, so then when you search it, yeah, you see other people talking about him, but you don't get to see as much of just him. Yep. Here's a plain sermon. Yeah, you know. Yeah, I think he's benefited from that a lot.
Well, he doesn't. I don't think he makes nearly as much money now, like the church, now that he's off YouTube, because they don't get nearly as many online donations as they used to.
Well, and I think he's not doing films either anymore, right? Well, although I don't know if they made any money off of that either.
I have no idea. I don't follow that. I mean, I guess the only money they might make is if his films get more followers who donate him money. Obviously, he doesn't sell any films, so he doesn't directly make money off of anything that he does. But if he gets followers who then tithe to him online, that's what it is.
Speaking of those films brought a lot of people to him.
Yep.
Right? You get After the Tribulation, Marching to Zion, you know, and NWO Bible versions, those kinds of things. And
yeah, he's got a bunch of films. And I've actually watched a couple of them on here. I watched one where he basically claimed that Jews were like, that the Holocaust was fake. I mean, wild stuff, really. Wasn't one of the members a cop who stood on stage, said he wished he was allowed to kill gay people he meets on duty? Was that someone else? I don't think that was NIFB. I think that was a different person. I do remember that, though. That was Sheriff? I should have that clip. No, I guess I don't have that clip, but I do remember that. No, I don't think it was NIFB. I could be wrong, though.
Brought a lot of people to him, right? So obviously he took a lot of time making those. He would leave a lot. Do you think that, you know, out doing interviews and all that kind of thing, like you spoke about, he spoke to a lot of people that he didn't agree with or agree with him just to even make these things, right? So do you think that, how was it when he was gone? And what kind of strain did that put when he left, when he came back, that kind of thing? Did you see any difference in the abuse or how things worked out?
Not really, because as I've said in my video earlier, my dad is a pretty normal, chill guy. Like, he's not like a raving lunatic most of the time. Most of the time, he's pretty normal to be around. He's very charismatic. He's very intelligent.
Yeah, to be a cult leader, you pretty much need that, right?
And yeah, you can hang out with him and have a good time. So that's why his church members are like, oh, but I've hung out with Pastor Anderson. I can't believe he would do this. It's like, yeah, well, he acts normal most of the time. My mom is the one who's consistently just screaming and yelling every single day. Like, I'm sure she'll say she's not. I look forward to whatever schizophrenic Facebook posts she makes about me, like she did about John and Miriam, try with some just thing this long talking about
Dude, I didn't see any of those. Oh my God.
us, but not denying anything that we've said. Like, I'm sure she'll do that.
Yeah.
With John, John's off the rails. John's this, John's that. It's like, why don't you say what John said isn't true? Oh wait, you can't. So, yeah, but we didn't really notice or care when my dad was gone. It didn't bother us.
Did anybody in the church witness your mom this way?
I don't know. I'm sure a few people have. My mom is usually good at behaving herself in public, though. She's probably had a few outbursts though in front of church people. I'm not.
Yeah, a lot of abusers are very good at hiding who they really are in public. That's like part of, that's part of it.
Sure. But I mean, like she could turn it off. Yes. It's not like it's involuntary. She knew what she was doing was unacceptable, and that's why she didn't do it in front of other people. Like, I'll act the same way in front of church people as I would outside of church because it's just how I act. But she must have known on some level that what she was doing was unacceptable because she would behave herself if there were church people around. Like, she wasn't screaming at the top of her lungs in church or anything, or sometimes she would outside of church, like in public, but that's just random people.
Yeah, so I think that's what you're saying distinguishes between your mom and your dad, right? Your mom is at a very different level of,
Yep.
I'm going to be like this with my kids all the time. I'm going to just bring down the hammer. And your dad would just have fits.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah. So my dad suddenly would have to set him off. My mom didn't need anything. She just wakes up mad. I'd be pretty mad too if I had to take care of 11 kids at once as well.
Yeah.
But I also wouldn't have 11 kids if I hate being a mom, because she said how much she hates being a mom.
Hey, fair enough.
She wishes she could leave and never come back. She regrets it all. So it's like, then don't have 11 kids, dude. Like, if you're not going to love them.
Again, she didn't really have much of a choice, did she? Because Steven Anderson was like morally opposed to birth control. There's nothing that she could have done to change that situation after she moved in with him.
Yeah.
Like, if I hated kids, I wouldn't have any. So the only time she's happy is when she has like 3 or less kids with her. So yeah, if she has 3 or less kids, she's happy. But whenever she has more than like a couple of them, she just mentally breaks down and loses it.
That's a lot of kids. And kids are a lot of work. Oh my God, there's so much work. I learned how to like do cool hairstyles like French braids and stuff for my kid because I didn't want her going to school like, and being just like another kid. I wanted her to have really neat styles and stuff. And that's just part of the deal, man. That's part of being a parent is caring enough to try to just do, make their lives better in any way you possibly can, right?
So, yeah. So, and speaking of all the kids, it's like, and I guess Miriam said this, but it's more like all the girls had to take care of all the babies. So it wasn't even like
That's pretty normal in fundamentalist households, yeah.
Was constantly always having to do it on her own anyway, right? Or how did that work out at home?
So obviously my mom would breastfeed the babies, but basically when they weren't being breastfed, one of my sisters would be watching them. Yes. My sisters did practically all of that work the babies because until I just had my own son, my son was born on the 17th of August. So he's like 6 weeks old right now or something.
Oh, wow. Congratulations.
He's 5 or 6 weeks old. Yeah. Thank you. So
wow.
I thought all babies just cry 24/7. My baby's like right behind the other room. He's not crying. Babies don't cry all the time. That was a shocking revelation to me that no, babies not scream. What it is babies don't like my mom very much. She's probably gonna post some schizophrenic rant about this too. Her babies all freaking hated her and screamed their lungs out basically all the time.
Okay, that's not 100% how it works, but all right, I get the point.
Because babies can pick up on the energy in the house.
That's true. That is fair enough. I'll give you that.
and she was just such an enraged person. And yeah, the baby doesn't want to be held by her while she's screaming and cussing at her kids at the top of her lungs. So she didn't take care of the babies a lot. Besides feeding them, that she wasn't taking care of them. My sisters were. As well as I might add, she didn't do laundry, dishes, or she basically just cooked. She didn't mop the floors. She didn't do the laundry. She is very busy because my brother John called her lazy. I don't know if I'd call her lazy because she is a hard worker just for herself. She works very hard at her side businesses that make her money.
Wait, your mom? I thought he said that his mom had not worked a job in like a long time. Interesting. 25 years, evidently.
She doesn't do her own laundry, make her own bed, get her own water, or take care of her own little kids.
Wait, you're talking about your mom, right? Am I mistaken here?
She delegates all that. Now, yes, when it comes to doing her side businesses to make money for herself, very industrious, very hardworking at that.
So, and you know, I've heard parents say this as jokes, right? But I think you think she really meant it. It's kind of like, well, what else are kids for if not to be your servants?
Oh, exactly. Yes, she'd literally exactly say like, "Oh, well, because she claims that we basically owe her a debt because of this," which it's very.
Oh yeah, 100%. Yeah, that mindset is again very common in fundamentalist circles.
Simple. No, I owe her nothing. First of all, and any debt I owe her will be repaid to my children. She's paying it forward. She takes care of her kids.
I can appreciate that mindset. Yeah, I like that.
I take care of my kids, and that's just how it goes. But she has this weird thing that, like, when you're like 8 years old, to that because she feeds you, you need to work for her, you need to work that debt off because she feeds you and clothes you, so you owe her all this stuff. As if little kids owe their parents anything. I owe her nothing. My son owes me nothing. I take care of him because I love him, not because he's going to work it off for me. That's the stupidest thing I've ever heard.
I appreciate that mindset. Absolutely, that's really good.
How old were you when your dad started the church, or were you even born yet? I don't even know.
He started it on Christmas Day of 2005, so I would have been about 2.5 years old.
Okay.
So, yeah, basically as far back as I remember. I do remember when he was still in the house, though, vaguely.
Okay, yeah, and it was just to you, right? I mean, as far as I understood, he just like, I started and I just preached to my own family at first.
He's had some church members. He's got one church member he's had since the second week he started, so it wasn't like just him. But yeah, there were some services where I don't remember it obviously, but where it was just him, his wife, and his 3 kids.
Okay, so how was it watching that as you grew up, watching it get big, and then watching this thing? Did you ever look at him in a different way, like, oh gosh, I guess my dad's getting real famous? Now, what are we going to do?
Not really. It seemed very normal to me, just probably because he was my dad and it's all I'd known. So
yeah, I understand. It seems pretty normal to Alpha Force Zero too that I'm famous. But like, there's a dude in my apartment building who recognized me. Like, we were taking the elevator, and he's like, "Oh, hey, is it Telltale?" And I said, "Yeah, that's me." He was like, "Oh, no way, I love your stuff," you know. So, like, on occasion, I am recognized just completely out of the blue. I am famous in my own right. Like, on average, like 1 out of every 100 people you pass in the street is going to know who I am, at least based on my analytics. But it doesn't really seem that way when you're on the inside. You know, you're just like living life like everybody else, just telling stories about your life like everyone else. It's not unusual.
It didn't seem uncommon to me. I might add, my dad's not that famous, not really. He had like a moderate amount of YouTube subscribers at one point. Like, that's what people forget. Like, his influence is not actually that far and wide. He's had like a couple things that got a few million views.
Yeah, but people know who he is. They know him because of his infamy, if nothing else. And because he's like, you know, because the things that he said have made it into the news so frequently, and because he represents a large swath of extremist Christianity stuff.
Really not that big. Like, most people do not know who he is. Most people I've met, if I mention my dad, they have no clue what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
So yeah, he's not actually that popular. Obviously, when there's 8 billion people, 8 billion people, he managed to get 100,000 to subscribe to him. That's a pretty small percentage of people.
Yeah, it's not really like that. You know, I get like 2 million views on a video on occasion. It's not super often, but it does happen. And that's 2 million people who will recognize me in the street if they see me. And some percentage of those people are going to like follow through and watch more of my videos and will like become fans, you know. So it's a little different.
Even if it's just in America, even if all 100,000 were in America, it's nothing. He's got just some fraction of a percent.
Yeah, and they're all just people like you say in the echo chamber of believing in that same way anyway, right?
Yep. And I know he has a lot of good people that follow him, but he has a lot of absolute dirtbags who are following him because they're abusive scumbags
100%.
and terrible human beings, and they're there because they're hate-filled people who just want to scream and hate. And listen, I understand what the Bible says about homosexuality. I don't disagree with any of that. But if all you want to do is get up every week and scream about it, you have something wrong with you. Like, go outside, dude. Like, why don't you go? Like, there are bigger problems and more, because I also, what's the point? Like, they're screaming about it in their church. They're not like, there aren't any, no, like, they're not going to convert any of them. And none of them are at his church. And
right, they're not going to convert any gay people. They're just being vile, hateful scumbags for the sake of it. Exactly.
no one at his church disagrees with him, so why is he still screaming about it? And his cronies too. Like, sure, like, why don't they talk about relevant issues? If his job as a pastor is to help his congregation, so why doesn't he talk about issues relevant to his congregation? My dad has no known homosexuals in his church, so what is screaming at him about it helping them? Like, why doesn't he preach about drinking or something, or
Because of the attention, plain and simple, because he wants the attention.
issues that might be hurting them?
Right, yeah. Or gossiping or beating your children or wife. Right?
Exactly, yeah. Why doesn't he preach about being a better husband?
Right. Because he's very, and I understand, you know, and just preaching against it. And I think this is just me thinking, this is what's going to hit on YouTube.
Yep.
Right. This is what's going to cause some views on YouTube.
Absolutely. Yep.
I'm going to talk about homosexuals, gays, all that kind of. I'm going to say that
He's
they
a
should all
shock
die.
jock. He's a shock jock.
Yeah, because you said, you know, it's not going to convert any of them. I mean, he doesn't even believe they can be converted anyway.
Exactly.
Right.
So I don't know what his point is. And all of his followers, anybody following my dad probably heard about him because they saw a montage of him hurling things or kicking things. Because I don't understand the theatrics. What is he kicking his pulpit for? Standing on his pulpit, hurling things. It's not an appropriate reaction.
Right. It's all attention based. All attention.
Right.
To this, like, he's not doing anything. It's theatrics, and he has people there. They're there to see his circus. That's what they're there for. They're there for a circus. They're not there just because he's expounding the word of God. No, they're there to hear somebody scream about and hurl books or whatever.
And I'm guilty of it because when I first started watching, man, some of that stuff was just funny. I just thought it was
hysterical. I still love it. No, I see like his greatest hits on Instagram, and it's so funny of him like drag this bozo out. And he's having people dragged out and stuff.
Yeah, I have that video actually. Hang on, let me find it.
Hey, sit down. What are you coming up here to do? You want to come take over the service? Huh?
Over the service.
What do you want? What?
I just want a prayer, Ed.
Get out of here.
Can I get a little grace?
No, you can't. No, you get out of here. Get him out of here. Drag this bozo out. Pull him out. Hey, help him out. Get him out. And you know what? Anybody wants to come up here and take over the service? We'll throw you out of here, buddy. This church is not a free-for-all. This isn't an open mic. This isn't a karaoke bar.
Anyway, it's just stupid.
Of him like, drag this bozo out. And he's having people dragged out and stuff. It's obviously hilarious, but the problem is then you, on a more serious note, you're like, this is church. I'm not here to be entertained when he's standing on his pulpit or whatever, or he's hurling the false Bible versions at the wall. Like, that'll really show him. He goes to the Christian bookstore, buys an NIV, and I'm going to chuck it at the wall. That's going to, like, it's just theatrics. There's no real point to any of it.
Yeah, he's very flamboyant, I suppose.
And it's funny, but church isn't supposed to be funny. My dad wanted to be a stand-up comedian as a kid, so I think he's trying to, like, and all of the guys that imitate him try to do. They're trying to make their churches like really fun and cool. It's kind of weird. They do it in kind of a weird way though.
Well, yeah, it is a weird way because fun and cool is like a big old kind of mega church style. Let's just tell some jokes and read one Bible verse and entertain people. But they're against all that, so it's got to be a different way, right?
Yep. Yeah. And his way to get people in is, I mean, obviously, if you see anybody screaming the way he is, you're immediately going to lock in and pay attention. Like, you're like, oh, gee, what's this? Like, if someone walks in, he's hurling stuff, he's standing on top of his pulpit or whatever.
Yeah,
That's like,
which is impressive in itself, right? Jumping up there. But
well, he used to do that more often, but he stopped because one day he jumped back off his pulpit and the door had swung open and it got him on the inside of the leg and cut him pretty badly.
Well, interesting. Okay.
He didn't stand on his pulpit for years after that because he used to do it constantly. Like, I mean, probably the videos are gone now, but he used to always be on top of the pulpit. But then the door swung open and he got super badly hurt. So,
oh,
I don't think he's done it recently. In his defense, he hasn't stood on the pulpit recently. But it's those type of theatrics that got him the majority of his fan base.
yeah,
Because it gets clicks online. Because his biggest haters are sharing it because they're like, "Get a load of this guy! Look at the way he's carrying on." And then some people get, and maybe that there are people who got saved because they saw a montage on YouTube of him going bananas and they ended up following his sermons and seeing his plan of salvation and getting saved. But it kind of, I'm not really a big fan of that's how you get your fans.
right.
And because he attracts a weird crowd because of that. Like,
Yeah, you think?
even if a lot of the stuff he says is true and biblically sound, he attracts a super weird fan base with the way he says it.
This is interesting. So does Isaac really believe that the things that he says are true and biblical? I mean, Isaac is like you said, he's read the Bible a bunch. He's aware of what it says, but is he a true believer? Like, is he a true NIFB believer? I don't know. I can't tell. It sounds like he is, right?
Yeah. So what would you say to that? What would be your take? Because I got a take on it, but your take on the fact that a lot of the things that he does talk about are biblically sound, right? There's a lot of validity to some of the things that he's talking about. We're not talking about
I mean, in the sense that there's some validity to every preacher's interpretation of the Bible. Yes, they all have some degree of validity to what they believe, obviously. It's the controversial stuff.
beating stuff, but other things, other doctrines are biblically sound. And the fact that someone will use that and say, you see, God's using him, so he must be doing nothing wrong, right? What's your take on that?
My take on that is God doesn't need people like my dad. Because here's the thing. I don't care how many people he's gotten saved or how it's not relevant. If he is doing the things that he does, he makes the cause of Christ look bad. That's why the bishop must be blameless. It doesn't say, oh, well, the bishop must be blameless unless he's really, really good at preaching and reaches a lot of people for God. No, because the whole point is my dad, like Nathan the prophet said to David, has given great occasion to the enemies of God to blaspheme. Oh, I'm quoting that right. He has given great occasion to the enemies of God because guess what? Why is Jordan able to make hours of videos crashing my dad? Well, because my dad did horrible stuff. And obviously, I'm sure fundamentalist Baptists in the new IFB are going to get trashed because of my dad's actions. Just like they got trashed a few years back when Donnie Romero, independent fundamental Baptist pastor, is snorting cocaine and banging hookers when he's at church conferences, right? That's a pretty bad look too. But the new IFB, if they want to deal with this, they need to distance themselves from my dad and get as far away from him as possible. And, you know, if all of them took a stand against abuse, it wouldn't make them look bad. Maybe they'd get a few weeks of bad press for it, but in the end, it would work out well for them. So yeah, we don't. The cause of Christ doesn't need people like my dad. He's not a good ambassador for Christ. I don't care how many times he's read his Bible or how articulate he is. He's not a good ambassador because he makes us look bad. He makes good Christians look bad.
Absolutely agreed.
Yeah, I think my take on it is that, you know, if God wants this person to be saved, and they just so happen to be listening to Steven Anderson, and he's preaching the word, and he's giving a plan of salvation, I don't think that God's going to let his word return unto himself void. I think that he's going to, for his name's sake, honor his word, whether or not that person is good or not, is saved or not, whatever. You know what I mean? I don't know.
Yeah,
but
exactly.
and I'm not saying he isn't saved. I'm just saying that there's a lot of hypocrisy coming out now from you and your brother and your sister, and maybe now your other brother, and even things that that the pastor was talking about.
I think he was talking about Solomon. Solomon came out. Yep.
On that video with your brother. You know, so there's too many witnesses, and it's like you said. Okay, can't be without blame. Has to manage his household, which, according to your brother, he doesn't seem to be able to even manage his wife, even though as much as he wants to.
Or his daughter. Where's his minor daughter? Where's Miriam, his 17-year-old daughter? He's lying. We're going to get to that too with the thing with Clint. He's
Just a reminder, I would really appreciate it if you guys checked out my Patreon. If you're not going to donate, you don't have to, but follow me there at the very least. owenmorgan.com/Patreon. just in case something happens with the government or whatever, it would be really good if you had some way to connect with me and my content. I'm really concerned about that. And maybe you should consider that for other creators too. Clint is Steven Anderson's brother. And if you're unfamiliar with the situation, Steven Anderson, basically Miriam, his daughter, at 17 years old, went to Clint's house to visit in another state. I'm not sure which state. And it was well known. Everybody was fully aware that's what she was doing. But when she got there, she didn't want to go back. And Steven Anderson doxed his brother to his like thousands of viewers online or more than thousands. And basically threatened Clint and like got stalkers sicked on him and stuff. Like it was horrifying. The whole thing was horrifying. Because Miriam didn't want to go back. So the cops get involved and they go over there and Miriam answers the door and they're like, you got to come back. And she starts to have a panic attack and went to the hospital. And Clint went to see her at the hospital. And Steven Anderson, once again, started talking shit about Clint to his audience of thousands because he went there to check on Miriam, basically. And it was just disgusting and evil and wrong. And the whole thing was just bad. And that's what kind of inspired this. Isaac decided to, in Miriam's defense, come out and tell his church, my dad is terribly abusive to all of us, and she was trying to escape, and he's abusing Miriam and everybody else, and he's taking advantage of you by using you he's weaponizing you as an audience against his own brother who's trying to help his daughter. And nobody believed it until John came out, his other son. That's two witnesses. According to the two-witness rule, two witnesses come out and say, this is what's happening, this is what he did, and so on and so forth. That establishes facts. So John comes out. And then Steven Anderson starts trying to poke holes in the credibility of John. So Miriam came out and said, this is what's going on. This is what he did to us. Yes, he hurt us. It was awful. That's three witnesses. And then Solomon came out and verified, yes, in fact, he did do this. That's four witnesses. That's more than enough. That's twice as many as necessary, all to protect Miriam. I mean, mad respect for these kids for doing that, to protect each other. You know, you need to protect each other. You need to work together in these types of situations. So
Yeah, I'm sorry. You continue.
No. That's a perfect segue, right? Because
Yeah.
even with any of that, just that alone, I've said,
let me step back because I missed what he said.
So there's too many witnesses, and it's like you said. Okay, can't be without blame. Has to manage his household, which, according to your brother, he doesn't seem to be able to even manage his wife, even though as much as he wants to.
Or his daughter. Where's his minor daughter? Where's Miriam, his 17-year-old daughter? He's lying. We're gonna get to that too with the thing with Clint. He's I'm sorry. You continue.
No. That's a perfect segue, right? Because
Yeah.
even with any of that, just that alone, I've said, at the very least, everybody that's associated with him, everybody that, if they want to oversee each other, that's great. If they're just dictators in their own church, that's fine also. But like you said, distance yourself or call for him to step down while an investigation is going on, so you know what you're talking about, instead of just blindly believing him and not watching the testimony of his own children because you don't like the host of that podcast.
Yep.
Right, because Dead Domain, aka Jordan, did the podcast, and Jordan is on the left, and they claim that they're Satan and all this other insane stuff.
And so it brings us to Miriam, right? So she also went on to that podcast. So I assume that John went there and Miriam went there because you first were on.
They did, yes. Because John texted me. He's like, "Oh, but he's like, I'm gonna go talk to your buddy Jordan or whatever." I remember he texted me that and he just contacted Jordan and did an interview, as did Miriam. We talked to Jordan because Jordan was actually willing to listen to us. Why do these people need to quit crying about us talking to Jordan and ask themselves why they didn't have anybody who would talk to us? Like, really? So Jordan's, according to them, a degenerate, trans reprobate, and apparently still more morally sound than their own pastors. Like, What's like that's a pretty that makes them look bad if it takes a trans
Again, like Jordan is non-binary, so
to have a better idea of what's righteous than their own pastor and go, oh well, because their pastor's like, well, I don't really think spousal abuse. The Bible's pretty quiet on this issue, so I don't really want to talk about it. I got guys in my church doing this too, so hey, what's nothing to see here? It's just obviously
disgusting.
Ridiculous. Because I talked to Jonathan Shelley as well. I didn't record my phone call. I talked to him for about 2 hours, and it was just 2 hours of course, he doesn't deny any of our claims. My dad was actually honest to Jonathan Shelley, basically didn't deny anything. My dad lied about some stuff with Miriam, but he didn't deny anything John and I had said about him and beating his wife and stuff. And Jonathan Shelley's like, well, what's the big deal, though? I don't think he's disqualified. God's still using him.
He's absolutely disqualified from being a pastor.
Just weak and pathetic. He just doesn't want to stand up to the guy that ordained him because he has no backbone. Jonathan Shelley's a man lacking all integrity. He needs to
100%. When Alvarez came out against Steven Anderson, Jonathan Shelley did this video basically claiming that Alvarez stole from the church and a bunch of other vile lies. Like, these are all evil people, dude. Like, I don't want to defend anybody here because they're all awful, evil people who talk about gay people being executed and stuff all the time. But we have factual information here. And Alvarez, and the shit that Shelley said about Alvarez was just flat out lies. Like, he lied about him, claimed that he stole when he did not, and showed a picture of his church's bank account number and routing number on air live and stuff. Like, it was really, really vile, dude, what Shelley did. Shelley is just a very, very deeply bad person.
Grow a pair and stand up for what's right.
Again, I covered that on my channel at the time. If you want to watch it, the video's out there. Maybe search for Shelley and Alvarez or something. I think it's on my Unfiltered channel if you're curious. But he put up a picture of a check which has the routing and account number on it of the church in as revenge against Alvarez for leaving.
I was talking about what like tough guys they are, such hair-legged preachers. Why doesn't he grow a pair and stand up and go, hey, I think beating your wife is wrong, which is a pretty low bar. Really doesn't take that much integrity to go, I don't think it's okay to beat your wife. But apparently more than he has.
Right. And stand up for the kids, right?
Yep.
Yeah. But then again, he also learned from your dad. So how is he going to know when
he's like a Steven Anderson impersonator. He like has the same haircut. He looks and talks like my dad. I don't know what that's about, but like I remember even when he
talking about Shelley
went to the church, he like, I don't know why he looks and talks like my dad. I don't know if you've noticed that, but it's very weird. He's like an impersonator. I don't know if he always. I don't know if he does it on purpose or if it's just a coincidence. But yeah.
When it comes to Miriam and she finally goes to Jordan to speak, obviously, she's 17. She's scared.
Yep.
She's worried.
Yep.
She doesn't want anybody to know where she's at. But she was brave enough to get on there and do that, and rightfully so, because like I wouldn't have known any of this unless you had gone on Jordan's podcast. And now I'm like, my whole point is let's get him on here so that no one has any more excuse as to why you can't watch the podcast and find out what's really going on.
I appreciate that. That's nice because I guess he's a right-wing nutcase too, but they were bitching about Jordan not being appropriate to watch or whatever. That's respectable that this guy would do that.
Let's make sure the kids.
Their excuses are never ending. I'm sure they'll have something else, but yes, the excuses are never ending.
Yeah, make sure the kids are okay. Make sure they're still walking with God. You know what I mean?
Yep.
And see if we can't figure out what a good outcome of this should be. Like your intentions for an outcome, right? So Miriam going on there, you saw that. You saw your sister hurting. How did you feel watching that?
Miriam's video was a particularly hard watch. I already knew what was going to be in it. It didn't make it any easier to watch it. I already knew everything she was going to say because, I mean, I grew up there. I know it is. It was a hard watch. I didn't like watching it.
I watched that one as well.
Like, it's not nice hearing your sister talk about those horrible things. And then my dad's response is just, if I don't understand how he has anybody who still follows him after his response. I don't know if you saw his weird crap he put on Facebook and Rumble, where he's going after his own brother, posting the name, address, things, and there's his brother and sons have been getting just a bunch of horrible messages from his disgusting fans.
Yeah, it was evil, dude.
And I might add, the worst part about all of this is Clint doesn't have Miriam. Clint hasn't seen Miriam since September 4th. My dad showed up because I called my dad on September 4th about something else, and he goes, "Yeah, I got to go, though, because I'm going to be at Clint's house in 24 minutes to get Miriam." I was like, "What?" So he shows up at Clint's house, beating on the door, calls 911 on his brother, which is funny because like 2 days earlier, he was just telling me about, because John reported him to the CPS. He's ranting about, "You don't call the cops on your family ever for any reason." Of course, he's not like 3 days later calling the 911 on his own brother. Miriam's not there. Cops show up. Clint tells the cops where Miriam works. The cops, because they're stupid country rubes, made the real genius move to call my sister's job and go, "Hey, just wait there real quick because we're coming to get you." Miriam didn't know any of this was happening, right? They show up at her job. Miriam's dealing with the cops. One of the cops, my dad also lied and said John coached Miriam to fake a panic attack. That's a lie. John didn't know. John was at work. Now, John said that's exactly what he would have done had he known. He would have absolutely told her to fake a panic attack. Miriam faked a panic attack because the officer suggested it. The officer's like, "Well,
Okay, I don't know that she faked a panic attack. I'm not sure what they're talking about here. She went to the hospital for a panic attack.
Give it to your dad unless you faked a panic attack and had to go to the hospital. Then we wouldn't have to give you straight to him." Because the cops saw my dad losing his mind in his brother's yard, and my brother Clint is considerably more well-spoken than my father and doesn't come across like a raving lunatic. So the cops, even though they just had to do their job, they multiple times were willfully careless with calling Miriam's job and letting her know that they were coming. Why would Miriam know that the police are coming to her job otherwise? Like, they call her job, they suggest she goes there, and then at the hospital, they're just not really watching her closely. So they somehow just let a 17-year-old girl just escape. And Miriam is not with Clint. My dad is putting that up, and my dad doesn't think she's with Clint either. He knows she's not with Clint. That's why he didn't dox Clint last month or three and a half weeks ago. He called his own sister and brother and threatened that if Miriam's interview with Jordan goes live, he is going to put all their information up. He was going to do it to me and my brothers as well, but we're not scared of him. And
that is vile shit, dude. That is vile. If the interview goes live, then I'm going to dox these people. Like, what is wrong with you that you would think or do such a thing? Like, there's no moral bottom here. Your kids want nothing to do with you, Steven. Leave them alone. They don't need you. They don't want you around. Leave them alone. Jesus Christ.
He kind of bitched out on that. I'm disappointed. I wanted to see if any of his freaks would show up at my house. Unfortunately not. Arizona has a castle doctrine, so I don't think anybody would have shown up, but
right.
I didn't get it. So he's not posting to his clique, "Guys, help me get my daughter back. My daughter's been stolen from me." No, because he would have posted that 3 weeks ago. He did it to be vindictive because Clint can't make Miriam stop video because Clint
Absolutely. Yep. I agree completely.
doesn't know where Miriam is. Right hand to God, I know where Miriam is. She's not with Clint, and Clint has no clue where she is. They can waterboard Clint. They're currently trying to put the thumb screws on Clint so that Clint will tell them where Miriam is, and Clint can't because Clint doesn't know. I do, and Clint doesn't. My dad also claims she's with John or something. That's funny. John lives in a studio apartment. So, no, she's not with John. But the thing is, my dad is too scared to go after us because...
God damn, man. I'm so glad that these kids are together and working with each other. Everybody in my life knew who my dad was and that he was abusive and terrible. And every one of my siblings, I have 3 siblings, 2 brothers and a sister. They all knew that I was being abused by him, and they all wanted to get me out. But what are they supposed to do? So my brother Lance allowed me to move in with him when I was 14 years old. But that was actually an even worse experience than living with my dad, by far. I moved back with my dad when I was 15. I was at Lance's for like a year or something. And the isolation there was even worse than with my dad. And believe it or not, the abuse was pretty bad as well. My brother learned his parenting skills from my dad, apparently. My sister lived in Texas. My other brother just wasn't involved and had no He was disfellowshipped from Jehovah's Witnesses and was not a part of the family anymore. Nobody had heard from him in years. I talk to him now, but, options were limited. And it's always nice to see when like family members are coming together and working together, trying to help protect each other, from like terrible abusive monsters. I always appreciate seeing that kind of thing. That's nice.
If you didn't notice, we are considerably larger and stronger than my father. He was scary to us when we were like 12, maybe. We don't take him very seriously now. He's not a physically strong man. Not really. He's good at running, but running doesn't really physically intimidate people.
Yeah, my dad was big. He's like 400 pounds, but he was very slow. I could outrun him. And at a certain point, I could fight back and be successful. But it's, it's not a situation you want to be placed into in the first place. It's awful to have to deal with that. Like, it's the worst. But, I guess we made it out the other side. My brother Lance never really dealt with my dad's terrible behavior. He knew what he did because he saw my other siblings dealing with it. But I think I got it the worst. And everybody else in the family, I believe, seems to think I had it the worst as well.
So he's too scared to go after us. He's currently trying to just torment his brother and children, which is not going to work. And he knows that he's not with Clint because his own sister was telling him, I know she's not with Clint because Clint was asking me what I should do with Miriam's things that are still here because I don't know where to send her things to because I don't know where she is. That was several weeks ago. So his own sister's like, I know she's not with Clint. And my dad goes, well, I don't care. I'm still going to post this or whatever just because to punish Clint. Because he's claiming Clint kidnapped his daughter. It's a complete lie.
Such a scumbag, dude. Really, such a scumbag.
Miriam begged Clint for help, and Clint did it. And I might add, my parents are currently accusing Clint of Miriam. That's what they said. They're like, well, we can't be certain, but we wouldn't be surprised if...
Disgusting, dude. These people have no moral bottom. That's the type of shit that should disqualify him from being a pastor ever.
Clint's her. And my dad's in this video going, why would this 49-year-old man want a beautiful 17-year-old girl in his house or whatever? No. Clint is an honorable man trying to help Miriam, who's begging for refuge. And now Miriam is on her own, not with Clint.
So your mom stated in her long, as you say, schizophrenic rant on Facebook.
Sounds schizo.
that they're the ones that paid for an airplane for her to go visit, and then she just never came back. Was that the case?
I am extremely confident that by they paid for it, it was church money. I know my dad used church money to fly out and try to get her back, and then he just quickly preaches at the church plant. They probably used church money to fly her out. I don't know. Maybe they used their own money. So here's what it was. Miriam was going to spend the summer with Clint. So they allowed Clint they flew Miriam out there. While out there, Miriam was talking to Clint about how horrible things were at home, just talking about the abuse, blah, blah, blah. I was there in early July, and Clint was asking me some questions, and I talked to him. He talked to some of my other siblings, too. And he got the same story from all of us, everyone he talked to. Same story, same things. Because
well, on the testimony of 2 or 3 witnesses, right? Clint gets the same story from everybody. It's reasonable to believe what they're saying, according to like their Christian understanding of everything.
Asked me a few things. He's like, that's exactly what Miriam told me. Funny thing, right? So then when my dad called Miriam threatening to bring her home and beat her or whatever because he mistakenly believed Miriam had reported him to the CPS, he's wrong. He was just mistaken. But Miriam told Clint, like, I can't go back. I don't want to get beaten. I can't go back. The things are going to do, right? And she goes, I'm not going back. So Clint was then basically had 2 options. Either Miriam is going to be on her own, just on the street somewhere, completely unassisted, or staying with me. And he goes, well, I'd much rather she's with me in a Christian household. Because my Uncle Clint is squeaky clean. Like he's not living in sin. His household is so clean and so godly. And I might add, his sons don't listen to the music and movies me and my brothers were growing up and stuff. Like they're literally getting into less trouble than we were. So he's like, I'd much rather have her living with me and she can still get a job. She can still, do stuff.
Yeah.
Because Miriam was not going back to my parents one way or another. That Miriam had made that clear. I am not going back. And this has been proven by when the police took Miriam from Clint. Miriam escaped custody and is now not with Clint or my parents. Because she was absolutely not going back to my parents.
Yeah, but she's safe, right?
She's safe. Don't worry about that. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's nice. I'm just gutted for these kids, It's God, I've been through it. I know. I know the exact feelings and situation and everything that these people are describing and experiencing. And it's just really, really hard to deal with.
My parents cannot reach her, and I don't think they want to. Because I might add, I told my parents they are so lucky they miserably failed to get Miriam back. Because knowing what they would have done, they would have probably beaten her senseless. And
Oh, no doubt. Yes, absolutely. I can see that from Steven Anderson.
I would have gone to my dad's house and dragged him out in the street and beat the fuck out of him. I'm considerably larger than him. I would have probably given him some kind of permanent and lifelong injury. And yeah, I would have gotten arrested until the cops saw the marks on Miriam. I would get released the next day, and my dad would probably be rotting in a cell right now or pending trial. So that's part of why my parents are not actually trying to get Miriam back. They think Miriam is with me or John, but they're too scared to show up at my house with the cops because my dad can't. I have cameras and stuff. He doesn't dare show up screaming like a lunatic at my house like he did at his brother's. There's a recording of him just going absolutely ape shit at his brother Clint, and then his nephews just drove back from the gym or something. They just showed up. They've got no clue what's going on, and he just starts screaming and cussing at them, cursing them out, telling them to get the hell out of there at their own house and stuff. I think my dad's very insecure because like all of my cousins are like twice his size. Like even like my 15-year-old cousin bench presses more than my dad now. So that's why this video keeps talking about, oh, Clint's hiding got his meatheads. You've got his musclehead kids there. He's just mad because he can't get strong like they are. He's not strong like me or my brothers or my cousins. He's always been a physically weak man, and that just that just really eats him up or something. So he's very.
Yeah, there was a moment when I realized that I could take my dad. I remember that moment when I realized that. Made me feel like a lot safer, but at the same time, like it's not something that you want to have to do. It's not something you should feel you have to do, you know? And it sucks that they were in that situation completely.
Insecure about this. So he's mad that he was unable to intimidate Clint's kids. And now he's currently trying to just send his followers to intimidate them. But yeah, Clint doesn't have Miriam. That's the worst part. He's just doing this purely to be vindictive. Clint doesn't have her, and he knows this. It's also not legal what he's doing as well. So I'm sure legal action will be
Unfortunately, I think that doxing, I don't believe there are any laws against doxing. I could be wrong. There should be, but I'm pretty sure that there are not.
Taken against him, because if people harass Clint, that's super illegal, and my dad incited this.
Harassment and incitement is illegal, but doxing, I don't think that's illegal.
Yeah.
He's literally telling people to stake out his house and film him. Hey, just film who's going in and out. Yeah, buddy, that's not legal. You can't tell people to do that. That's super illegal. I was telling people his threat has to be empty because there's no way my dad is stupid enough to do something illegal like that. He apparently is.
Yeah,
but
I mean, because now it's recorded, and then it's insane.
Well, and if you saw his video too on Rumble, he looks 10 years older. He looks like he does not look good. Like I'd seen him like a week or two earlier, and I think he's feeling a lot of the pressure right now. Because even though he claims his church unanimously supports him, I really doubt that. Unless maybe his church is just wall-to-wall deadbeat wife beaters and enablers. I don't think he has as much support as he claims.
Well, and if you speak against him, I mean, you're going to get kicked out, or you're going to be spoken against anyway. And then once that person's out,
not just kicked out, publicly defamed online, he'll probably make memes about you and make videos talking about what a horrible person you are. He won't just quietly kick you out either.
Right.
So I think that's part of why some people aren't speaking up.
Right.
Because he'll go after them and their families, like he's doing to Clint right now. Clint doesn't have Miriam. He's literally just going after Clint purely to be vindictive because Clint at one point let his daughter stay with him when she begged for help. So now Clint needs to get put online, putting his name, address, numbers, picture.
It's seriously disgusting. Like, this is the behavior of a truly psychotic human being.
That of his kids, which is just disgusting.
Yeah,
which I think he was when my brother John heard he was threatening to do this. John sent him a message like, "Hey man, I moved. You don't have my new address. Here's my new address. Come get me." My dad did not have the balls to do it, obviously, which is. But
dude, I'm so sorry for these kids that they have to go through this. I have 100% been through all of this, and this is hard, really.
Yeah, because we explained we will not be intimidated by him trying to bully us, and because he was terrified of Miriam's video going live. How will he discredit Miriam? Miriam doesn't have tattoos. Miriam doesn't have face piercings. He can't claim Miriam's on drugs or any of the other lies they say about us. He can't claim that about Miriam. Miriam's pretty unimpeachable. She's quite intelligent, well kept. What's he going to say to discredit her?
Honestly, I was surprised he didn't accuse her of having a boyfriend or something. She didn't, as far as I know. But I thought he was going to accuse her of being a quote-unquote whore or something like that. No, he chose to claim that Clint took advantage of her. What a disgusting person, though, right? Like, how does somebody... God, I shouldn't be surprised by how vile this dude's behavior is, knowing who he is, Steven Anderson. Knowing what type of person he is already, I shouldn't be surprised. But for some reason, he surprised me.
Yeah.
Like how? Currently, he's just claiming Clint has kidnapped her, and he's claiming Clint raped her too. Not on camera. On camera, he's like, "Hey, it's a little weird, right?" Off camera, him and my mom are claiming Clint off camera.
Yeah. The only thing I'm hearing,
hilarious.
Yeah, coming against her and with you guys is that okay? Well, she went on with the so they're siding with the. You should listen to nothing that they have to say because they they went and ran to this thing, and that's why I wish, like, my whole thing is like, okay, let's do it without a. That's your hindrance. Let's do it then,
exactly.
Right?
I might add, John has 2 interviews that aren't with either, saying the same stuff.
By the way, guys, check out my new shop, owenmorgan.com/shop. I have a bunch of really cool designs on there.
I really wish they'd stop using that term, but okay.
And that doesn't change anything for my parents. It's just a cheap cop out. They're just going, "Oh, but look at John's hair. Look at John's hair. He has a nose ring. Can you believe it? John
No, he has long hair, yeah.
has a nose ring and slightly long hair. Everything he says must be automatically untrue." Which, I don't have a nose ring. I don't have long hair.
Yeah.
I don't go to raves. And I'm saying all the same stuff as John. And then for me, they just go, "Oh, but Isaac, remember 4 years ago when you joked about beating women or whatever?" I was like, "Yeah, I joked about beating women. I didn't actually do it."
Yeah, I'm a little more inclined to forgive the things that he said. I have the group chat that he was in. I have screenshots of everything on my clips collection here. But I'm more inclined to forgive it because he was a kid at the time, and he didn't say anything that was like absolutely insane. Yeah, you know, it was pretty bad, some of it, but he was a child. Like, people say all kinds of stuff when they're children, you know. So I don't know, and he's obviously not the same person today that he was back then.
Like, I don't know. I didn't realize joking about it was the same thing as doing it, but according to his followers, it is. Because they go, "Remember, you got exposed." I was like, "I didn't get exposed because I'm not ashamed of that. I joked about beating women. I still joke about beating women, I might add, because I don't actually do it."
Well, that and this whole exposing thing of you guys and all this stuff that happened was...
You know, I talked to Hemant Mehta about this, and I think that for the most part, like, everybody in the atheist YouTube sphere is pretty much in agreement that the things that he said were very edgy and, like, dirty. But the fact that he came out against his dad so hard and defended his sister so hard like that indicates that he doesn't really believe any of that, and it was genuinely jokes. And I haven't seen any evidence of him making jokes like that since then. And he's a teenager, so you know, like Hemant Mehta said, I was going to report on this, but it's edgy jokes told by teenage boys. If he continues this behavior, if he makes a habit of this, it'll be a different situation. But yeah.
I mean, you're young, you're teenagers, and you know, it's whatever. Now you're a grown man, you're married, you have a child.
It was a private conversation. I mean, are we gonna really pretend like men don't say things that in private conversations on chats with their friends? Because obviously, to my friends, they know I'm not. They know I'm serious. Obviously, out of context online, talking about, "Hell yeah, I'm gonna beat the crap out of my wife." That sounds pretty bad. But of course, when you're with your friends, they know you wouldn't actually do that. Now, to my dad, it's not a joke because he actually does it.
Right. And he doesn't even, like, his dad doesn't even frame it like a joke. He frames it like he believes this.
So are you still in the same area as your dad? Because obviously Miriam is.
I live like 23 minutes from him. He lives in Awatuki. I live in Phoenix, I live in Phoenix, but like right on the border to Levine. I don't know how familiar you are with the geography, but I guess I'd be on like the southwest-ish part of Phoenix, near South Mountain.
Okay.
I'm near Levine. So my dad lives in Awatuki, or as my mom calls it, all white Tukey.
Okay, is that supposed to be a joke from his mom? I don't think I get it.
But
which is funny that you say that, because I heard Miriam talking about how racist your mom is.
my mom is very racist, yes. Which I think there are worse things to say about her. There are definitely worse things to be than not wanting your daughters to marry black guys.
There are. I mean, that's pretty bad. Jesus Christ, dude. Like, these people have a completely warped concept of how society should run. That's crazy.
That's really not that crazy, in my opinion.
I live 30 minutes from Ahwatukee. Never heard it called that before. All white Tukey. I mean, here's the thing. There is no bad side of immigration. There is no bad side of having like a lot of black people in your neighborhood, or having a lot of like Mexicans or immigrants or whatever. There is no bad thing about this. This does not, like, people that don't want to have a lot of black people in their neighborhood focus on this because they're racist and hateful. There is no reason for this. And when you hear people say things like this about like how racist they are, like it just shows you where their heads are. It shows you like how vile they are inside, you know?
I'm sure someone's now going to throw out my whole testimony, because guess what? I don't want my kids to marry black people either. I want grandkids that look like me.
Oh boy. Okay. That's not good. Your grandkids will look like you. They will look like you. And besides that, why is this the thing that upsets you? This is like saying, I don't want to marry somebody with blue eyes, only green eyes, because I want my kids to look like me. They're going to look like you. Whether they have green eyes or blue eyes, they will look like you. That's really sad. I'm really sad to hear that from Isaac. But like I said, I knew he was like a Nazi, so at least he's defending his sister. That's something.
So, nothing wrong with being black, but I want my kids to look related to me.
Right.
Well, they will. Either way, they will.
Well, so, yeah. and to that point, it's not necessarily that you're being racist that you say that. I mean, it was something that Muhammad Ali said himself. He wouldn't want any of his daughters
exactly.
married.
Well, they lived in an environment where segregation was acceptable. Segregation is unacceptable. I don't know about Muhammad Ali or whatever, but that's racist. That is racist, plain and simple. And there are a ton of black nationalists who believe that, black people and white people should be separate or whatever. That them believing that does not validate that belief. That is a vile belief, no matter how you look at this. Just disgusting, dude. Sorry, this is just bad.
Because you're trying to keep...
Muhammad Ali said on live television that people who intermarry races or whatever ought to be executed. He said it should be capital crime on TV.
And you're like agreeing with him? You think this is good or what?
It was the 60s, so no one cared. Everyone's like, hell yeah, I agree with you. Yeah. It's not racist to say that, I don't think.
Yes, it is. It is racist to say that.
Like, I'm not saying it's bad to not be white. I like being white. I like that my baby looks white, right? My baby is white. He has blonde hair and blue eyes. I like that. He looks like me.
Like I've said this before, I'm going to say it again, though. Race is pseudoscientific nonsense. There is no race. It's fake. It was a concept invented and really weaponized only 300-400 years ago. There were, of course, like ethnicities where people believed that like the Greeks were the best or the Romans were the best or Italians or whatever. There was that, of course. But the idea of race where, black people and I'm trying to think. There were categories, Mongoloids, and I'm sorry, I'm saying it for the sake of historical accuracy. Mongoloids, Negroids, and the other one. I don't remember what the third one was. Caucasians, maybe. Those three subgroups in their mind made up all races, and the Caucasians were the highest race. All the way back in the 1700s, I believe. It's pseudoscientific trash. There's no, it's a conspiracy theory. There's no scientific basis to it whatsoever. There just isn't. There never was. So the idea that you're like obsessed with, one group, one category of people only ever marrying this other category of people kind of tells us all we need to know about you, honestly. The first science textbook I read had these descriptors in it. That's interesting. Yeah, it's nonsense. It was always nonsense. And Darwin didn't help, unfortunately. Like, he came along and validated a lot of the racist kind of sentiment that existed already. I have more in common with a black person than I have with an Irish person, or like or a Dutch person or whatever. People are human beings. There's one race, the human race. And there are more similarities between the races than there are within the races. That's the point. It's like phrenology. Okay, phrenology is nonsense. Was always nonsense. There wasn't a grain of truth to phrenology. It was trash. That's the point.
Right?
Yeah.
I don't have blonde hair, but like I like that, and yeah, that's not that crazy to think. It's okay to have a preference, and if black people prefer to marry themselves, that's great. I'm happy for them.
I mean, your sexual preference is not something that you can or even need to try to change. If you don't want to date a black person personally because you don't think they're attractive or whatever, fine. Okay, like, I'm not trying to change who you are or whatever. But if you're saying, I don't want my grandchild to be black, so I'm going to try to control what other people do, I have a problem. And if you're saying, I don't want to date a black person because I think they're inferior or whatever, then we've got a problem. And it feels like that's kind of like where his head is at right now, honestly.
So there are definitely worse things to say about my mom than that she's a racist. My dad swears he's okay with his daughters marrying black guys. I don't remember that being the case, but he swears he's totally cool with it. So
I have a question for you. So one of the big draws to your dad's church also is that first he preaches that you shouldn't go to any other church. This is the best church in the area. And so then people are like, well, we don't want to speak against it because this is the only good church in the area. Are you going to church? Is there better churches in the area?
I don't know, to be honest. I've tried a few others and they're mostly lame, honestly. Like, that's the problem, because unless you want to hear about worshiping Israel or something stupid like that, I'm not.
Oh, yeah. I think that they're anti-Israel, or not pro-Palestine, anti-Israel specifically. They fucking hate Jews. So Steven Anderson certainly does, at the very least.
Sure, because I've been to other churches. The pastor reads like one verse and stuff, and then just yaps about just some really basic message. But then the worst thing about his church is his members, his congregants, which I actually, my dad's meeting with his 64 most loyal goons or whatever. It was supposedly 64 men. As far as I'm concerned, no men were at this meeting because they decided my dad shouldn't get kicked out for what he's done. So I don't think they had any real men there, but they had some men at his meeting. And while they were there, I wasn't there, but this is what I heard, that they decided that because I back in January said my dad has a faction of fans that are stupid sycophants, that I should be kicked out of church for saying that. So I got kicked
Well, I mean, that's just factually true.
out of church like 2 or 3 weeks ago for saying that my dad has sycophant followers. It's kind of weird because, like, if I say, hey, my dad has some stupid fans, they go, oh, he's talking about us. He's talking trash about us. They kind of outed themselves.
Right. Well, you call me an idiot?
Being the people I was talking about.
Right.
And I even mentioned it to Jonathan Shelley on the phone. I was like, I got kicked out for saying my dad has a faction of weird fans. And he's like, dude, I used to go to your church. I know who you're talking about. He's like, there are definitely some strange people there.
Of course he would attract strange people. Like, nobody is surprised by that, are they?
But of course, so, I mean, Jonathan Shelley ought to get kicked out of Faithful Word as well, because, he's basically said the same thing. I'm sure he'll make a video denying this too. And, Isaac's lying. I'm not sure. He'll probably say I'm insecure because I'm not.
You know, honestly, in these types of situations where you are like on the defense in a, what's the word I'm looking for? In a media type of situation, you need to shut your mouth. Jonathan Shelley's best option is to, honestly, like, if I were a media advisor for Jonathan Shelley, I would tell him either shut your mouth and ignore it completely, or come out and make an accusation against Isaac and completely ignore what he said about you. Do not draw attention to Isaac.
Running a church as big as my dad's, or whatever weird theories he's going to come up with.
What do you think the end result of this all will be? Like, what do you think happens here with church, with your home, with the 8 kids still in the house, with your what do you think is going to happen after all this?
I don't know. I wouldn't be surprised if my dad makes up some BS excuse. Oh, well, there's the personal stress. I'm going to actually flee the country or something. I would not.
He chose not to, I guess. Steven Anderson chose to stay and reignite the drama and blame everybody around him for his own personal mistakes instead.
Surprised if he flees the country. I actually would not be surprised at all about that if he ends up claiming, oh, the stress is getting to me. My ungrateful kids, they're just turning people against me, and he'll just flee or something, or go crawl under a rock somewhere and hide and fall off the face of the earth. I don't really. The thing is, at this point, like, I don't really care. I'm not if any of his fans after this are still stupid enough to follow him. I don't really care about them. Like, I don't owe them anything. I have these people sending me these 2-foot long messages on Facebook about, oh, this and that. Why would you do this? Why would you do this? And I'm starting to be like, listen, I don't owe you anything.
Dude, this guy loves saying slurs, doesn't he? No, he's right though. You don't owe them anything, and he's doing it to protect his sister, which I appreciate.
Owe you an answer. Everything I said is true. I don't owe you an explanation. What I said is true. You can do with that what you will. I don't owe you an explanation for why I talked to Jordan instead of this, which I might add, they don't believe what I said either way. So they're just trying to nitpick. Yeah. And I don't owe them anything. I don't owe his church members anything, and I don't really care if they want to still worship my dad. The only people I care about are the good people who didn't know what my dad's doing. If someone knows what my dad's doing and doesn't care, well, they're a scumbag too, and I don't. And yeah, they can go have their church can become a haven for wife beaters.
Oh, hate to tell you, they already are, of course. Anyway, tell me what you think about it in the comments. I'm glad to see he came out and protected his sister, but dude, he still holds some bad beliefs. Really, some really bad ones. Tell me your thoughts.